Happy Monday. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Monday's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Today, Monday, the 24th day of November, in the year of our Lord 2025. The year is going. The year is moving rapidly. The year is moving. Welcome one and all. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope you're looking forward to a productive week. And here we are once again, another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. Whether we get cash grant or not, you got to give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. Give praise and give thanks to the Almighty for allowing you to see a new, beautiful day. Many persons would not have been this fortunate. So we have to give praise and thanks continuously. So welcome. The gates were open at 8 this morning. And as is customary now, immediately all the students want to come into the schoolyard to relax, I guess, before the doors are open. And as we say, school calling. So they were here very early, and I appreciate them and I compliment them, and I will give them recognition in a short while. Well, welcome. My is in the studio. He's waiting. We don't have any technical difficulties this morning so far. Keep our fingers crossed and keep praying. So thank you very much for your attendance here this morning. As I've said, immediately we schedule the program. The students were here. But again, oh Lord, what a terrible weekend. We say it all the time. We were here Friday afternoon, and we told you what took place in terms of road deaths and other incidents between Wednesday and Friday. And sad to say, between Friday and this morning, now that we have this episode, more deaths. Where are we going? And the sad thing about all of this, is that there's no indication that the authorities are taking any sort of real corrective measures. And we're going to talk about that this morning. As I indicated in the notification for the program, I said we're going to continue to talk about the carnage on the road. It is important enough to ensure that we continue to talk about it. And it's about time others come out. I have seen every now and again somebody write a letter in the newspaper calling out them, and they calling out the authorities, the government, the police, all them, with what is going on the road. But we have to have a more concerted effort to make sure that changes are brought about. Not this knee-jerk thing that they're talking about, real concrete changes which we can see impacting on the lawlessness, positively impacting on the lawlessness that's on the road. That's the only thing you can call it, lawlessness on the road. This lawless culture in on a whole, and then of course the what goes on in the road is just a microcosm of what is going on in the general society. It's lawlessness, and we're going to examine some of those things today. And from time to time, especially some new students will say, "Oh yeah, come and you point out problems and all that. What are the solutions?" Well, as is customary, we're going to identify problems, and we're going to identify possible solutions to the problem, which we have been doing and which we will continue to do. So yeah, share, and let them know that we're here. Again, subscribe to the channel if you are a YouTuber. Just go subscribe, notification button to get the notification. If you are a Facebooker, then just follow the page on Facebook. And again, we tell you, when you come on, when the program goes live, give us a thumbs up on the YouTube in particular. Give us. Well, we're approaching 700, 650. We are approaching now. We just passed 650, and we have 28 thumbs up. Not good enough. Right? Some of you got to go into detention. Some of you will definitely have to go into detention. So yes, we're gonna bring you credible, valuable information once again. What we're gonna do? Let me acknowledge those who were here very early. Then we're going to make the announcements, and then we're going to go straight into the meat of the program. Today, like every other day, we have so much to talk about. We have to, they say in medicine, and in medical, they say they do triaging and so on. So we have to prioritize. We have to do some prioritizing. What are the issues we need to talk about today? And some are going to go back. some are very important that we need to talk about. So here we go. In terms of recognizing, and again, I say, I don't know. So people tell me that on other programs, the names are not displayed this way on YouTube. So I really need some help. I don't know if it's a problem at my end or if a platform problem, but something is wrong, and I really need some help to see if it can be resolved, right? So we have Wayne from the UK, first man in, followed by Derek. Ian, Lucius, you're already steady. They all came at 8. Then we have Grantley. Then it was Barbara, then Peter, Clarence, Aubrey from Canada. Then we have Gibbo, Jacko. Jacko said he is in Corriverton. He's a quarantine man. You know, he does normally be in Georgia, but apparently he's on vacation. He's in Corriverton. Then we have Winston from California. They all came at 8. And then shortly after, Joan from New Amsterdam, Marcus, Kerry, I understand you enjoying some good weather too down there in GT. Ivor, there is Magnell, Puran, Domestic Coast, Orin from the UK, Ivan, Danny is here. Then it was Anne, Clive from the UK, Sean from upstate. Then it was, who is this person? Anne again, Felicia, Courtney, Anthony from Peters Hall and the East Bank of Demerara, and the list goes on. Those are the people who came in within the first minute. And then we have the, when we went live, let's see who are the first persons in on Facebook. First persons in on Facebook. Let me see to recognize them. Here we go. Edward is here as number 1. He's usually there very early. It was Carton, always coming in close together. They all came at 11:01. Well, no, they came at 11. Then shortly after, you have Alwyn, Brian, Pam, Lennox, Joan, Rhonda from Rhonda goes on. Then I'm still in the house, and the list goes on. Trifosa was there early as well. So welcome. Let me run the announcements. You know, we say we start with the sad announcements first. And today is 619 days since Sergeant Alex Vaughn was shot and killed. He was shot on 12th of March, 2024. So you want to challenge me much, you could check it for yourself. 12th of March, 2024. Today is the 24th of November, 2025. And you can't hear anything about any update on that matter. Where a police sergeant was shot and killed, they say, whilst on duty. Then we have, we told you about the death of the former Lieutenant Colonel Claude Fraser. Well, I have some details here for the funeral, which I'll run through to you. They said today, that is Monday the 24th today, there will be a night of reflection from 7 p.m. at Camp Ayangana, the Drill Square at Camp Ayangana. Then tomorrow, Tuesday, there will be a wake at 33 George Avenue, Lamar Springs. That's what they call it, Joint Services Scheme. Then on Thursday, the 27th, is the day when they're going to have viewing at Memorial Gardens Crematorium from 11 to 12:15. Then the body departs at 12:30 for a funeral service at the Central 7 Days Adventist Church and Arnock Street. And that service will be held between 1 and 4 p.m. Thereafter, the body departs to go to the residence in Lamar Springs. They're going to pass by his residence in Lamar Springs. And then it goes from there to the Memorial Gardens at 5 p.m. for military last rites. So I guess they're going to go there, they're going to board the last post and all of that. And then on Friday the 28th, viewing again at Memorial Gardens from 2 to 2:30 p.m. And then that it will followed by cremation. So he's going to be cremated on Friday the 28th. But again, I will bring you up to date on Wednesday about the details that I just announced. And then we did tell you about the death of Inspector Sherwin Arlington Dotson from the Immigration Department. And then there's a night of reflection tonight. Tonight, a night of reflection from 18 hours at Heavenly Light World Outreach Fellowship, 150 Cooper Street, Albistown. And then he's going to be buried on Wednesday. viewing at 10, from 10 to 11 at Sandy's Funeral Home, and then church, then further viewing at the church from 12, and then the service will be from 1 o'clock. That's the same church I told you about there, Heavenly Light World Outreach Fellowship at 150 Cooper Street, Albistown, or as them by they say, Almanstown. Then, you know, this morning I was greeted with the sad news that my reggae icon, Jimmy Cliff, passed away this morning. I'm not sure if he was in Jamaica. We know he's Jamaican, but he passed away this morning. Jimmy Cliff, he passed away at 81. And you know, back in the years, as a young teenager, I remember those songs from Jimmy Cliff, right? Back, I remember you had in 1969, 1970, those times, when you put on the top tune, top 10 or whatever they get, Jimmy Cliff used to dominate. I made a note of something like "Come Into My Life," right? And we as young teenagers used to change word. We never used to "come into my life." We used to say "come in for Lil," and you could with a word that rhymes with life. That is what we used to sing as young teenagers. And then you remember "Suffering in the Land." The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Suffering in the land. So up even until today. And that song was in, I think it came out in 69 around then. Then we have "You Can Get It If You Really Want." That was the next anthem for us, man. You're looking at girl, you think you can get it if you really want. You got to try and try again, and you will succeed at last. And of course, when it says succeed at last, we used to put our own meaning to that as well. And then you say, then hard road to travel and a rough way to go. Oh man, Jimmy Cliff, hard road to travel and a rough way to go. And don't forget, time will tell. Time will tell. All those things were anthems back in the late 60s and early 70s, right? Then we had, later on, he sang, "The harder they come, the harder they fall." I think he made a movie with that as well. So Jimmy Cliff passed this morning. He passed this morning. And condolences to the relatives, friends of all those deceased persons. And hope that the good Lord give you the strength to carry on. We have some other announcements to make in relation to deaths, all the many road accidents and the murder and all these type of things we had over the weekend. And I should tell you that I made an announcement here about a countryman of mine, Trevon. It was Delon Trevon Hopkinson. He died, so he fell down from his steps, struck his head and died. Son of Lloyd Hopkinson. He lives on Kwamina Road with me in BV. And they said the funeral service will be on Saturday the 29th, viewing from 1 to 2 at Sandy's Funeral Parlor. Service at the same location, and then burial after. So yeah, so that is what we are. Let me tell you more days, and then we're gonna come back to talk about the tragedies over the weekend. Birthday. Let me start with today's birthday. My old friend, man, my girlfriend, retired Superintendent Desiree Fowler, old Fowl. She's observing a natal day today. Also observing a natal day today is one of the ranks who worked with me, Lloyd Warren. Lloyd Warren was a drum major and bugler. I think his number was 15781. I know you're watching. I know you're going to be here watching. But I think Warren number was something like that, 15781. Warren, he is celebrating or observing a natal day today. And then belated birthday greetings are going out to former Assistant Commissioner, former Major General. The man held so many posts. I'm referring to Norman Gordon McLean, right? He's celebrated, or he observed his 90th birthday yesterday. I saw him a few months back, and he looked very, very well for 90. And for those of you who don't know, Mr. McLean was one of the first three cadet officers in the Ghana Police Force in 1958. I think it was the 1st of August 1958. You hear about now McLean, Cecil Skip Roberts, and Cecil Glasgow. They were the three who came into the police force as the first cadet officers back in the colonial times. So Norman is still around. Skip has gone on, and I know Cecil, they used to call him Satan Glasgow, not Ovid Glasgow, you know. No, I get them mixed up. Not Ovid Glasgow, Cecil Glasgow, right? He is still around, I think. Yeah. So they were the first 3 cadet officers. And then celebrating the birthday recently to yesterday, former member of the force, former Guyana cricketer, Collie Solomon, Salah. Salah celebrated his birthday yesterday. I know Salah used to run in and bowl, pace, and swing for the police. He was Salah and Maxwell were the teams at one time. Then you had Chatterpal Singh and all of these people around that era. But Salah celebrated a birth anniversary yesterday. And we have another a student who celebrated yesterday, Henrik Boscom. He's always on the program, always. Henrik is always here. He celebrated yesterday as well. And in terms of upcoming birthdays, we have Woman Superintendent Joel Sullivan celebrating soon, and former member, and again another cricketer, Carrie, you born Carrington, right? 84-61, right? I think it's 84-61. Carrie is celebrating. I think it's tomorrow. So I want to wish all those who celebrating today, all who celebrated recently, and who are celebrating in the near future. Happy birthday to you all. Let me bring in CC, and then we're going to go on with a few more announcements, and we're going to get on with it. CC, welcome, my brother. Hope you had a wonderful weekend.
Yes, a nice, quiet weekend. Lovely cricket I watch. And then I want to say happy birthday to Desiree, my girl. I'll talk to her later. Emma, we had some good times. Emma, she was head of the training board secretariat when a man in Larry Lewis was the chairman, and it wasn't easy. We had to get everything, just correct. Dot the I's and cross the T's and everything. So happy birthday to you, Desiree. And my mentor, I have a few mentors. Norman McLean. I got to know him after he became chief of staff. And we developed a relationship. And we developed an excellent relationship, I remember when I was offered the position as a security consultant for Troy Resources Guyana Inc. And that's a large-scale Australian mining company. And I wasn't too familiar with that type of security. So I rushed to Norman McLean, and he called his secretary and said, give him this document. And he gave me what you call the Oh My Bible, with all the procedures, all the SOPs, and everything. So when I started the work, and my boss says, Clinton, I want a SOP on the goal board. I want a SOP on gravity. And I want a SOP on this, that I used to jump into Norman McLean's Bible and produce what they were looking for. So thank you very much, Mr. McLean. And we still remain friends. I spoke to him up to this morning, and I know that he's continuing, he's going to bat on. 90 is only 10 singles away from a century. And I know that if he continue to bat in the crease and take it in singles, he's going to make the century. So thank you very much, Major General, and we'll continue to stay in touch. Thank you, Major General.
Yeah, let me say too, I have some fond memories of Mr. McLean, but before I go there, I missed a few birthdays. I think a student, Cecile Ogle, is telling us our birthday was Saturday, the 22nd, back 22nd. There's a belated birthday greetings. I know Cheryl is saying that our son birthday is today. Cheryl Pancham is saying her son happy 49th birthday. And then a student, Lucius Ian. He and his wife watches. He and his wife watch frequently. And Dawn Lucius, she's gonna be celebrating her 61st birthday tomorrow. So let me don't miss out on those things. Yeah, let me don't miss out. But let me say, Mr. McLean, as CC said, fantastic gentleman, right? No, when I joined the force in 1974, I think he was Commander A Division then. assistant commissioner division, and then he lived in Ivlery, if I remember well, and he had that green maxi. That green maxi. When you saw that green maxi, you had to be on the alert, right? You have to be on your alert. The story is told of Mr. McLean, because we were in training school, and you had people like John Ames, 9488 Ames, my late friend, and Changu. They were cricketers. So they used to go out to nets in the afternoon at Ivlery, practice. And they used to shot. In case you all know where you shot, you leave to go to Ivlery ground, but then you find yourself in Georgetown. Like how you get the opportunity to stretch your legs and swan, right? So John Ames and Changu left to go and play in nets, the cricket, found themselves in Georgetown, Regent and Wellington Street, somewhere there. And Mr. McLean, or Regent and King Street, somewhere in the area there. And Mr. McLean was leaving office, and he saw them and recognized them for who they were, trainees who were supposed to be at the cricket ground. And he drove to, I think he went home, and he just got to the ground, called Ovid Glasgow, Ovid School, who was there too. He was at the training school. And he started to complain about, he wanted school to make a record about Ames and Changur, right? And then, Ovid trying to intervene, and he telling, don't intervene, you always representing, and these people. So, but sir, don't but sir me, I'm telling you. Then when eventually Sko get to say what he had to say, Sko said, but look, Ames and Changur in the middle. Ames and Changur in the middle. And he did see Ames and Changur, but Ames and Changur saw him at the same time. And the two recruits decided that they got to reach the ground before now McLean arrived back there. Before he arrived. And then my boss a sprint. And if John, before he died, used to tell me the story. The boss a sprint, and they reached back there. And let me tell you this about, y'all indulge me for a minute or so now, McLean, right, who celebrated his 90th birthday yesterday. He is responsible for the Guyana full bore shooting, for the dominance in the West Indies, the Guyana full bore, Guyana rifle team. When McLean became, because it was always traditional that the Rifle Association elected the head of the army as the president of the Rifle Association, right? But prior to now, McLean, nobody took any interest in it. It's just a titular position. It was just a ceremonial position. When now McLean became president, he decided he's not going to be just ceremonial. He came to the ranges. And in those days, we had up to 600 yards. If you know international standard, it's up to 1,000 yards. So you have 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 1,000. Now McLean say, imagine a place like Barbados and Jamaica and all those places get 1,000 yards range, and Guyana with all this land. He called his engineers, Humphrey and Gordon, and said, we have to get a 1,000-yard range. And then men went to work. And within a relatively short time, we got 1,000 yards range, one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging 1,000 yards range in the region. And we owned our skills on that and became champions here up to now. Up to now. They can't beat Guyana. The Caribbean can't beat Guyana at 9,000 yards. Now McLean was responsible for that. I had the privilege of touring with him on a few occasions. And in case you're watching Uncle Naaman, I remember when the Santa Fe bike in Barbados, right? We had the tour with him. He too was the chairman of the police cricket section. And people will tell you when Naaman was chairman of that section, buddy, you had to, players had to go to practice and everything. He was chairman of the Guyana Cricket Board. If you all remember, the older people like Sean might remember this. He might have read about it. When they had the was Kerry Park, I think it was, and rain fell, the border wet. Helicopter come and dry the outfield. Let us start, the PvP people that start us, other thing now. But helicopter range, helicopter come and join the and dry that field and so on. So he is there. I remember when the Rifle Association celebrated 150th anniversary a couple of years back, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, right? He was inducted into the West Indies Full Bore Shooting Council Hall of Fame because he was respected around the Caribbean as an administrator. He was respected. And I said this, I said it before. Yeah, he went to Omai. When Omai started, he was the security person in charge of Omai, right? Private sector. Naaman is a tower of strength and experience and so on. One of the first cadet officers in the police force, and he is sharp as a tack up to day like today. Up to day like today. So Uncle Naaman again, as I call him Uncle Naaman, all the best to you. All the best. Now let me move on. Let me move on to remind us all that this week in the U.S., Thanksgiving on Thursday. Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. I know we all will have a lot to be thankful for. Once you wake up, you got to be thankful for life at least. You have to be thankful for life when you wake up. So Thursday is that day, the turkey day, a day when I will take command of the galley. I take command of the galley on that day with my turkey, my ham, and my pork and salad and so on. Yeah, fried rice, the famous Paul Slow fried rice. I am going to put out the works on that day. Yeah, so the other things that I wanted to talk about, let's go back before I bring in CC about this terrible weekend. This terrible, terrible weekend. You had 5 more fatalities over the last weekend. 5 more. 5. But perhaps before I go to that, let me give you a more pleasant news. We talk about cricket quickly. Cricket, when we were here last, we said West Indies take the licks. Then we had that fantastic test match at Perth in Australia, you know, where Australia blew away England in 2 days. And I told someone last night, if West Indies had lost a test match in 2 days, people will call for West Indies to be relegated to some second division or something like that. But Travis Head destroyed them. First it was Michelle Stark, and then Travis Head. Destroyed them. And then we got a second test coming up in the next weekend or something like that. Watch and see what can happen. Because it look with them type of, when you get them type of licks, it's not easy to recover, you know. It's not easy to recover from them type of licks. You're beaten psychologically, right? And then, in case you all miss it, there's a test match going on too. The second and final test between South Africa and India. Now, I didn't watch the game, but I look at the summary at the end. At the end of the first day, India had 6 wicket, South Africa had 6 wicket down for 2-something. Can't remember the exact score, 250-something or something like that. I was shocked when I looked to see South Africa went on to make 489. Down at the bottom, Talman Jansen, and the all-rounder, can't pronounce his name, make a century, Jansen 90-something. And then when India went into bat, Talman again blew them away, 6 a spit, man. 6 wickets he picked up. Jansen, the tall guy, right? And right now, at the end of the third day, South Africa is leading in excess of 300 runs with all their second innings wicket in hand. So you could not imagine what happened there. Imagine there is another series licks in India that India can get. I know the way of cricket is going in India, heads gonna roll once something like that happens. Heads are going to roll, right? So yeah, he made 93, A-Linear 93, they take 6 to spit, as we say. Yeah, so that is what going on. Cricket, the cricket is going on there. Let me go back to the more serious things. I have to lighten up a little, prepare you to take this sad news about all the deaths over the weekend. When we were here on Friday, we reported on an accident on the quarantine. They said 63 on the quarantine, where a bus containing school children met in an accident. And at that time, we didn't know of any injury, and we were praying for those who were injured. We didn't know of any death, but we were praying for those who were injured. Then shortly after program time, we learned that a 16-year-old schoolgirl died as a result of injuries she sustained in the accident. And then later on, I think it was yesterday, we learned now that the teacher who was driving that bus, he too succumbed. And they claim, I think 2 or 3 persons are still in a critical condition, they say. Right? But what happened? According to what is being reported, they were traveling, coming down, and a horse ran across the road. A horse ran across the road. The driver serve to collect, lost control, toppled. But then I read another, when in reading the thing, they say the driver and 17 passengers, including teachers and children, sustained injuries. The driver and 17 passengers. So they're saying that this minibus had at least 18 passengers, 18 persons in the bus. And I remember, I don't know if it has changed, because the maximum capacity of those buses is supposed to be 15. They have 15 seaters. But all of these are things that are come to light, and the authorities got to look. Look at this in terms of animals on the road. This one, 2 persons died. We had one on the East Coast where a motorcycle, they said, swerved from a goat into the part of a truck, died. We had one some time ago at Nig on the quarantine. Pig, early man, run across the road, motorcycles died. We had one on the Essequibo Coast where a cow ran across the road and the pill and rider and motorcycle animals. And that is why we continue to say this thing calls for a comprehensive approach. It's all categories you have to look at. People get the animals walking, grazing on the roadside. I saw an accident there, a video of an accident on Heroes Highway where a set of cows vehicle ran into one. So it's good to tell us about governance, so truck, and it's good to tell us about all of those things. But all elements have to be addressed. What animals doing on the road? You're talking about this fastest growing economy, right? Fastest growing economy. And remember, as we said recently, not so long ago, when Roy was Home Affairs Minister, they had an arrangement where they modified some trucks, stray catching trucks over Glasgow for a piece of time, was head of that unit, where they went around and they impounded animals that were straying on the road. All them things gone, sustainability, no sustainability. So people are dying because of stray animals on the road. That is what is going on. And of course, I remember there was one on the quarantine on the 19 road where I think somebody swerved from a cow or something there, died. They said it's an incident. That wasn't an accident. So maybe these are going to be classified as incidents as well, and not accidents. People are dying on the road. People are dying on the road. And what are they doing? Before I bring in CC, let me run through the others. We have one where, and I said, we can expect the usual BS from them, because I saw Ashni Singh and all them going and they're talking to the relatives and they're expressing condolences, thoughts and prayers. That is what is going on. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. And I learned this morning that the teacher who died is the nephew of 2 persons who worked with me. Ian Lewis was with me in Namibia, and Richard Armstrong. Both were policemen. I understand is their nephew, the teacher that died. The teacher that died. So condolences, special condolences to them, right? And then we have and then hear this one. Everything they try to politicize in this blasted place called Guyana. That's how you get so annoyed. Because sometime after, I saw a post on social media where an appeal was made, I think for O positive, some blood group. An appeal came out that they wanted this blood to treat with the victims of this accident. The government saw it fit to come out with a thing to say, oh, no, we have enough blood and all them type of thing. Government page, one of the propaganda page, DPI or one of them, came out with that. An appeal for blood, and they come out to say, well, they see that as being critical of them. So they come out and say, oh, we don't think we get enough blood and all of that. That is what is going on. Then we have one where they say a man was killed at Wallace Delight in a hit-and-run accident. He walked in, something struck him, drove away, another fatal accident. Then I got one that a biker died at Naboklis on the east coast of Demerara. He riding a motorcycle, so some pedal cyclists and some with a pill and rider. Somehow he crashed, he died. Then last evening, they're reporting that an 18-year-old female on the Essequibo coast, right? Some motorcyclists that said riding dangerously. She served to avoid collision with the motorcyclist, into some utility pole. She died. She died. All them accidents on the road. And then it turned down there. We read a man from Quakers Hall, just in my Coney area, found dead, suspected gunshot wound, back again. Then they get this is a sad one this morning. I saw the husband, I saw a report of the husband, a 36-year-old woman from Gibraltar in the quarantine. They say she died during child's birth at the New Amsterdam hospital. She died, and then shortly after, the newborn child, died as well. That is what you're going on here, please. And New Amsterdam again, because not so long ago, I think there was a report of child's birth at the New Amsterdam hospital. People die in this modern age. Child's birth is supposed to be one of the most natural things, man. One of the most natural things. And people in Guyana in 2025, and they talk about all these hospitals they're making and all these everything die. People complain too with respect to the same accident. You're telling us you're building a hospital A, modern hospital open me, modern hospital open me. And yet still we see often when incidents or accidents occur, the people have to be taken at some stage to the Georgetown Public Hospital. And I see one of the propagandists writing on social media trying to justify that. Oh, they get specialist thing there. And so all this nice about opening new hospitals, and you don't get all the necessary life-saving stuff at the hospitals. They talk about not having the specialist doctors. Well, that is just propaganda and bluff. Because once you open a new hospital, one would expect that it should be properly outfitted with personnel, medicine, equipment, and everything else. That is what is going on in this place. That is what, and it is so sad because people are losing their lives. People are losing their life. And they're going to go thoughts and prayers. They're going to tell you they're going to take care of the funeral and all them everything. And that's the end of that. But every week, as we have said, and sometimes not every week, every program we come, we have to report on these unfortunate accidents resulting in the loss of lives. But not almost, every week. Some programs you might not have, but every week there's some type of disaster. And they're in the place there. 5 more years for them. Let me bring in CC. 5 more years for them. CC, like this thing, this car is on the road and done, my brother.
I'll come back to it. You mentioned them, but you mentioned Thanksgiving, and I just want to share a little bit of Thanksgiving. Let me take a little piece back in from Thanksgiving. Now, my experience with Thanksgiving, 1999, I went to the FBI. Thanksgiving was Thursday, within that class Thursday, within that class Friday. I had one class at 1 to 3 on Wednesday, and another class at 9 to 1 on Tuesday. So it was a set of us, 4 of us. Some guys who were living in New York. And I used to hook little drop with them, to get down to New York and things. So we decided, hey, we don't have any class on Thursday. Wednesday, we get one session. And Tuesday, 1 session in the morning. So we said we're going to jack Wednesday. And after the class on Tuesday, we'll head to New York. And we left. We skulk. And bonus, that was my first experience with what you call a Thanksgiving traffic. We weren't moving. Especially when we reach New Jersey, we ain't moving at all. I want to know, I said, like, we lost, first time I'm going to New York, traveling from Quantico, Virginia. And then when I reached New York, my cousin was going to pick me up. They dropped me off at the McDonald's. In those days, with that cell phone, you had coins, put some coins in the thing on the car, and my cousin come and pick me up. And I enjoyed the Thanksgiving in New York. And you talk about turkey. I had so much of turkey, that's why I want to know. That's why we say you can't ask the turkey to vote for Thanksgiving because he's going to vote for that. And on the other side now, I had an experience in Canada Thanksgiving also. I remember a Friday night I was drinking some beers with a cousin, and he said Tuesday I'm going to Canada and I'm going to carry you. I'm going for Thanksgiving. So I said, I ain't get no Canadian visa. He said, I gonna carry you to the embassy, the High Commission in Manhattan and get a visa for you. So I said, let's go. We went the Monday, and the security the gate said, who wants a visa? I said, me. He said, you have a letter of invitation, you have a bank statement. Well, I said, my letter of invitation and my bank statement is standing next to me. He said, those things are a requirement, you know. I said, you don't have to ask me all this question. Just direct me where I have to go and fill up the form. So I went to my cousin and said, hey, give me the address that is going in Canada, you know, so I could and I fill up the form. I went to a woman there at the cage and she said, sir, why didn't you get the visa in Guyana before you came to the States? Well, if you allow me to talk, I could talk my way. So I said, well, I didn't intend to spend any time in Canada, but I have my cousin, and he's a Canadian citizen. He's an American citizen. He has his children who are Canadian citizens, and he's going for Thanksgiving, which I understand is a wonderful occasion. And I would like to see some of your beautiful country. So please give me the opportunity to see your beautiful country and to experience Thanksgiving. Here she, you are a sweet talker. I smile. I said, please have a seat. And within half an hour, I get a visa. And that's how I get a Canadian visa. And on the Tuesday, we to Canada and drove to Canada and I enjoy the Thanksgiving in Canada. But I went there a couple other times, you know. So Thanksgiving for me is a wonderful occasion, both in Canada and in United States of America. But getting back to the deaths, you know, I can't find words to describe what's happening. And all the police doing is talking. And when you look at the 5 deaths they had, none of them involve Larry, you know. They're focusing upon Larry. None of them involve Larry. And they're not looking at this thing holistically. All category of vehicles got to be involved. You got to focus on this thing is fluid. It's not Larry now, and then the next time is higher cars. You got to focus on all at the same time. And if the police really and doing nothing, all they do flooding the streets with policemen on foot, policemen on motorcycles, police policemen in vehicles, and they're doing their own thing. When you watch them, they're on their cell phone, minding their own business. They're not looking out for persons who are violating the roads. And there's a big thing, putting people on the road, you're not solving the problem. You got to ensure that they do what you want them to do. 5 from Friday to now. And like every time we come is accidents. And then the big thing is that they're cocking the figures. They are cocking the figures. Therefore, their response to the situation will be flawed. My sympathy to the relatives, friends of those who pass away, but the situation is a national crisis on our roads. And unless we look at it holistically, things going to happen. Things going to happen. We had 5. I ain't hear the traffic chief. Perhaps he was there on vacation, or perhaps he was there on Radio Ivleri talking where nobody listened to Radio Ivleri, or nobody even know about Radio Ivleri. But we ain't been hearing nothing. But the people, the human resource and other resources that they utilizing, they need to utilize them properly, efficiently, and effectively to bring this madness what's going on our road.
Yeah, my brother. Yeah. But yeah, let me show the approach to this thing. I saw is yesterday. Look, you know what is? I'm gonna read this yesterday. This is supposed to be. Let me read what it says. It's supposed to be a lecture to a lecture to schools. This is what you see, huh? This is what you see. It's supposed to be lecture to drivers. Able to release that follows this. Hold on, I don't have. Hold on, let me pull it up, man. I don't want to. I don't want to misquote them, right? They talk about lectures to drivers, and this is what they talk about lectures to drivers. This sergeant talking to 1, 2, 3 men. The Congress want 4, right? And they call that lecture to drivers. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the release that they gave in respect to that. The lecture to drivers. I can't find the release now, but you get the picture, right? You get the picture. Lecture to drivers. There's a lecture to drivers that they talk about. That is a lecture to drivers. And then when they're done there yet, so last night or sometime they post a picture this morning that this what they get now. These are lectures to bars, traffic ranks lecturing to people in bars. This is what you have. This is what they believe will turn this situation around, right? They're going to the bar. The man sit down there. A couple others were there, and they're talking to them. And then they're gonna tell you big thing lecture. They're gonna tell you what they tell them. They're gonna tell them about drinking. They tell all kind of thing. They claim that these people were told, and that is the approach to this thing. That is the approach to this old craziness. It's madness. It is madness. It is madness. And that is why this thing will continue, because these people don't have a clue, NFC, as to how this thing should be dealt with. Right? This is lecture to, Brian, this is what they call lecture to the bar, and this would have been last night or sometime. And this is lecture to drivers. We have seen similar pictures where they get a couple of little picnic, and they're talking to them, and the big thing on the social media, the police are lecture to drivers, lecture to school children. Look, this one, look. This one is last night. This was a vehicle across the Linden-Suzaik Highway last night, and the police put out a release on social media and the regular media to warn people that this vehicle has broken down across the road. That is what they do. And you remember some weeks ago, I wrote a letter and I recommended how the highway should be treated. I saw in yesterday's Stabrook News editorial, a part of it was quoted. And the police in the release said, well, there's this broken down vehicle and that traffic ranks are on their way to deal with it. Madness. And I made a recommendation that on the highway, you should have a dedicated safety patrol, dedicated, equipped with warning signs and cones and all these type of things. So if they add something like that, that patrol would have been able to respond and put up the necessary warning. Because when you go on social media, and then you put it in the regular media, how many people, you put in thing last night, it come out in the regular media, warning about broken down vehicle on the Linden-Suzaik Highway. How many people would have seen that? How many drivers would have seen that? How many? Even on social media, how many drivers would have seen that? Certainly, if you add the arrangement that I recommended, where the police would have responded within a reasonable time and put up warning signs and cones and so on, then every single person who approached that area would have seen the warning of the danger. But that is what you have going on. That is what. And I said, Stabrook News referenced it yesterday, but they ain't going to move them. Because you know why? The messenger is seen as Paul Slow. The messenger is Paul Slow. So therefore, forget about the message. No matter how valid the message may be, forget about the message. Focus on the messenger. And that is why people will continue to die. We aren't wishing it. But we're saying with this type of attitude and this type of incompetence, them things gonna happen. I was amused when I saw the release on the police last night. Broken down vehicle on the Linden-Suzaik Highway, accompanied by a picture. In the news, on social media, and the first thing occurred to me, how many persons driving on the highway would have seen that? How many persons driving on the highway approaching this danger would have seen that? Whereas, if you had signs, adequate signs, at the correct distance and so on, everyone who approached would have seen it and be able to take the necessary precaution. But that is what you get, buddy. That is what you get. That is what you have. That is what you have. Sadly, that is what you have. Now let me move on. We got so many things to talk about this morning. On Friday, we told you about this incident where the woman went on social media and she made some comments against Minister Indar, I think it is, and so on. She was arrested, and then people were speculating what going to be the outcome because they said she get connection. Well, she was charged on Friday, went to court, pleaded not guilty, placed on $150,000 bail. She was charged and placed on $150,000 bail. But if they have connections, or if she has connections, as they claim, some of the students claim that she has, let's see where this will go. Let's see, because remember, if it is that, as we have been told, the minister against whom these remarks were made felt offended to the point where he must have reported it. Well, not must. In Guyana, for all you know, some police saw this thing and decided to take action. I hope they have a statement from the minister. Because when it comes to the trial, the woman is pleading not guilty. When it comes to the trial, the minister will have to go into the witness box and give his evidence. So let's hope they have a statement. And for all you know, that's going to be the end of it. If this person is connected as they claim, then they're going to hear some apology or something, and then the matter got dropped. Let me wait and see what's going to happen. Because she does not fit the profile of the people who are accused of cyber crimes and so on. She ain't fit the profile. And yes, my brother, well, I mean, I am saying this. And even the government acknowledge it at some time when they say that they need to repeal the current Cybercrime Act because the Constitution guarantees you freedom of speech. The Guyana Constitution guarantees you that. And if someone goes on the social media or someone you believe defame you or they make libelous pronouncements against you, then carry them to court. It should be a civil matter. But no, they have criminalized that. They have criminalized it for certain people, I must add. They have criminalized it for certain people. So let me see what will happen with that. Let us see what will happen. And before I bring in CC, let me talk about, we said November month is Diabetes Awareness Month, right? November month is Diabetes Awareness Month. And we have been calling on you to make sure that you take care of your health and so on. I was pleased to see what they call the Men on the Mission. I know where's the mission, but the Men on the Mission had a big walk yesterday morning. I think we went 2 other walks. So the Men on the Mission had a big walk yesterday morning. But even before yesterday morning, Friday, they had I think it was a muster inspection at the TSU. Look a picture coming out of that. I ain't showing the faces. A picture. This is a muster at the TSU. Those people with red sashes got to be the rank of sergeant. Right? And it going all over the place, man. It going all over the place. Well-fed. We're saying well-fed police ranks. We're talking about Diabetes Awareness Month and encouraging people to be fit and healthy and so on. This is what you get. Well, let me tell you this. When I was the officer in charge of TSU, and I was in charge of TSU for up to 1993, I think I took over from Glasgow around 1991 or something like that, until 1993. That in there wrong. Even when I was a regular officer there, I got big belly men around the place there, sir. But like it's a different type of competition. Some people say it's a tool shed competition. I don't know what they mean by that. But they say some people have remarked in the thing that is a tool shed competition. Because look, starting a prominent guts. And look how they rage out. This one man is to be complimented. He out of place. And you look like a junior rank, he belt black. Look all of them, man. Look how they line up there. Men with guts. And then people say, well, to be in the police force, especially the TSU, you have to have guts. You have to have guts. Literally, you have to have guts. Not that long ago, we say you gotta get guts. We were speaking figuratively. But now they say you gotta get guts, so you're speaking literally. And then you think them the bad? Look at this one here. That's what you got going on in the place. Look at the one there. And this is not an attempt to fat shame anyone. Let me understand this thing clearly. Not attempt to fat shame anyone. But what annoyed me about this one? All right, you get size. Oh man, wear some proper uniform, no? Get proper uniform. Because when you wear uniform, you are representing the Guyana police force. You are representing the Guyana police force. So I am not here to fat shame anybody, but I'm saying that if you have size, if you're a fat boy, as they say, make sure that you have proper fitting clothes. You know, there was a policeman years ago in traffic. He's dead now. Samuels. Samuels was big. Big. Right? I think Sammy number was 0966. Right? I think 0966 Sammy. The story is told that Sammy was stationed somewhere at Timeri or somewhere there. And Francis Duncan Clark, the late, great Francis Duncan Clark, came from the airport. And the first policeman he saw is big fat Sammy. And he had him removed from that area almost immediately. You know why? He said that when somebody comes into this country, that should not be the first image they see of a policeman. And I totally agree with him. He said, no. You can't come into this country. Imagine you come into Ghana for the first time. And the first policeman you're going to see is somebody dressed like this. What impression would you get from the police, about the police? And you know, they say that you never get a second opportunity to make a first impression. Francis movie, they used to call him fried rice and all sort of thing. Francis removed him from there. But no, I don't know where this picture was taken, where he was. But any place you're there, uniform, you cannot present yourself on outside like that. And you know, somebody did ask the question, like they don't get inspection and so on before ranks are posted on duty. Like there's no inspection. Because one would expect that if he was inspected, then that should have been corrected. If he was inspected, as is supposed to happen before you go on duty. But that is the type of slackness you have now. And then they just come and tell you all manner of things. They don't want to hear the truth. But as policemen, especially young policemen, they gotta be fit. A traffic man gotta go and stand on the road for a long period of time. And if you're not fit, what happens? You can't take the rackings, as we would say. You can't. And TSU, according to Ovid Glasgow, TSU is the salt of the force. Without the TSU, the force has no flavor. That's what Glasgow used to say. TSU, you could get them men with them at least at that level, sergeant level, because look what's going on here. When I was a sergeant at the TSU, those of you, the older people, Toro and Gibbons and them, I might know. Buddy, I was sharp like a tack. From your boots right up, everything, your hair well cut, well groomed. Your boots shine, all your eyelet holes and your boots and all them type of things shine because you got to present. I was a drill instructor. You got to present a proper image to the people where you got to watch TSU, them sergeant there. They're racing to see who get the biggest guts. They're racing to see who get the biggest guts. And that is what you have. Let me bring in CC to comment on that, man. He was a man in training for years at the training school and so on. Could you imagine trainees, instructors at the training school and at the TSU with them type of tool shed, CC?
No way, Paul. And it's so shocking. Look at them. And then they say you got to get guts to be an instructor there at the TSU. You know, it's real shocking. Look at them. And they're sergeants. Perhaps when you look, perhaps they must be taking a pattern off of the Absman too, you know. Because the Absman get more guts than anybody else, you know. Look at it. My God, look at it. Members of the Guyana Police Force. And of all places there, the TSU, where they're supposed to be slick, supposed to be shine. And look at them there. Look at them there. It's really ridiculous. Ridiculous, you know, and I can't find words to describe what's going on there. Do they do physical training? What kind of training they doing? You know that, and then they taking it out and putting it on the social media. Honest, watch it, God's there. But let me just get back, you know, Paul, to the lectures that they're saying that they're doing there, you know. Somebody or person do not understand the nature of adult learning. And when you treat big men like little boys, learning won't take place. Adults learn differently from children. Children learn what you want them to learn, and adults learn what they want to learn. And take them and put five, six of them together and say you're lecturing to them. It doesn't make sense. And then you go in a rum shop or a liquor place. I drinking me liquor and you gonna come and tell me about traffic. It gonna make sense. And then the persons who doing what they call the so-called lecture, are they trained? Do they have presentation skills? Do they what my mentor, the late Samuel Small, used to say that you gotta do a threesome? Could they do a threesome? And I'm talking about the lecture, introduction, body, conclusion. Say what you want to say. Say it. Say what you said. Tell them what you want to tell them. Tell them. Tell them what you want to tell them. Tell them and tell them what you told them. Introduction, body, conclusion. But you go and stand up there, bring me off the road, pull me off my vehicle, and then you come in and tell me nonsense, but you think they go register? It can't register. They got to find some a better way of trying to get over the message. A better way of trying to get over the message. But no, go in a rum shop and talk to me. It didn't make sense. It makes sense. Or you pull five and six of me together and somebody who ain't get no presentation skills, who can't really talk, taking people. They got to find better ways of dealing with the situation and what they call but lectures to school and lectures to drivers and lectures to this body. Nonsense. It ain't making sense, and they got to understand the nature of adult learning, how adults learn. Study the psychology of adult learning before you send them people out there to talk. And some of them will talk a whole bundle of trash.
Right, you're right. This thing is ridiculous, and they're proud to push this thing on the social media and to say, oh, we did lectures to school children. There's other terminology, lectures to drivers, lectures to people in the bar. That is where you are. And that you expect to make an impact on the carnage that you have on the road, this lawlessness on the road, that you expect to really have a significant impact on this is madness, is incompetence. People don't know what they are about. They don't know what they're about. Now that we move to another subject. On Friday, we told you there was a news item from Travis Chase about this investigation. He says the Canadian and the American authorities over luxury vehicles which are stolen and smuggled to Guyana. The VIN number, chassis number change, and all of that. And it was a sad story. People being scammed. Now, following that, somebody else came out. I'm going to play. This is a little, I have it in two parts. Let me play a part of it for you to see, or you to hear what the complaint is. I want you to hear what the complaint is. Here we go. It's about 7 minutes. So sit back, share the live, and listen to what is being alleged.
Where I'm going to show you a next photograph again, where when I went to place to uplift this vehicle at I took a picture of the chassis number where I had to send to claiming that this is the car that I wanted. And when I uplifted the vehicle, I saw that they manipulated or they sprayed the part where the chassis number is supposed to be.
The thing is a two-part. I think there's the second part. Let me see if I get the first part first.
Good morning, Travis Trees. Richie Rich from the Bad Family Music. So I've been watching your page. The scam, and I'm a victim of a, let's say, VIN numbers. I've bought a white Runium from, and the vehicle was shutting down less than a week. The vehicle was shutting down, transmission problem, the steering rack, and I fought for a new vehicle. All right, and told me yes, he will grant me a new vehicle, and to go and to choose a next Runium. I didn't want to choose a white one because I didn't know if they were, they were going to say yes, they fixed the problem. And so I said, okay, let me change color. So I'm going to take a black. I took a black Runium, and when they give you like they tell you to take the chassis number on the vehicle, and then you carry it back to all right. So after that, they give me the vehicle back, and what I saw was the plate number was the same plate number as in PAF 6395. That, I was alarmed at that because I said, strange, because I'm paying back for a new registration fee. That is what they tell you. 50,000, you got to pay for a registration fee to get, they're going to register the vehicle and plate numbers, whatever. All right, so I did that twice, and what I saw was the VIN number. The chassis number was the same, right? Alarming. I took my camera and I start, filming what I've been, looking at. I found something here where it's interested about the white Runium that was giving problem and change it to a black one. All right. So as you can see, our processing fee was the 4th of December, because I bought the vehicle the 30th, but it was in the workshop. All right, so they had to do some stuff. So as you can see, this is the chassis number, right? 106044-2. This is the first down payment on the processing fee, 50,000. All right, now the change of the vehicle that's supposed to be the black one, correct, that I paid back a next processing fee to get a brand new, I don't know, maybe a plates, maybe, and 50,000 again they want me to pay for a next processing fee of a vehicle that I already purchased. But this is Guyana. This is how they rob you. All right, it wasn't my fault that they're selling me a rubbish or a shell, because nothing on that vehicle wasn't good. All right, so I'm paid a next processing fee today, the 27th. Chassis number again, 1060-442. So that mean they're still giving me the white Runium, right? The white Runium chassis number, and putting it over to the black one, because as you can see here, this is the chassis number for the white Runium. All right, as you can see here, Toyota use color white was a white Runium. All right, and here the processing fee again for the date of the 27th of January 2024, that I'm paying back on the same chassis number of the white Runium, because I said before in the other videos, I went down to the shop, I picked a new car, because I said, okay, let me give you a new car. I picked a new car, I took a photo of the chassis number, but when they give me the vehicle the 26th, that was yesterday, I saw that the chassis number, they sprayed over it. This here is very weird. This here is very weird, because all the vehicles comes with their serial number, the chassis number. All right, I have a picture where I'm going to save in case where when I choose the vehicle, the serial was here, the chassis number or a sticker was here. All right, and now this here, they painted it now. So Couple days back, I've not couple days, but months now, I'm trying to tell to, hey, your company has sold me a vehicle, erasing chassis numbers and stuff, and I know that's illegal. So, dear Mr. The motor vehicle insurance policy number 01M12703, covering a motor chassis number NZE1511060 in the name of. So reference is made to the caption policy and our letter dated the 4th of December 2023. We would like to advise that upon our inspection carried out today, we are unable to identify this motor vehicle via the chassis number via VIN number as seen on motor vehicle registration number 4005782 bar number 037371020222, carrying registered number PAF 6395 in the name of. Kindly note that the police policy is currently placed on hold. There is no coverage for the presented motor vehicle until we are able to verify the same via the chassis number VIN number. All right, so what that means that this black rhenium at the moment is not under insurance. As said, guys, they've erased the chassis number. I do not know why. So they've erased this chassis number on the black rhenium, where I'm going to show you a next photograph again, where when I went to place to uplift this vehicle at I took a picture of the chassis number where I had to send to claiming that this is the car that I wanted, and when I uplifted the.
Well, that's just the first part of the thing. There's a second part, but you get the gist of what seems to be a well-organized scam, right? The bleeps that you are there is the names being called or beeped out, because you know that is run to court once you call the name and so on, even though it's true, and then they put you through a long thing where you got to spend a lot of money to clear your name, they sue you, and they do other things. But following that video, this morning I noted someone wrote a letter, not long, so I'm going to read it. They got scammed too. So, firstly, I want to thank you. They said, dear Mr. Chase, firstly, I want to thank you for exposing the international local vehicle fraud affecting so many Guyanese. Your reporting has given people like me the courage to speak out. I am reaching out because I am another victim. My story is one of fear, confusion, and heartbreak. I purchased a black Range Rover, a vehicle I had dreamed of owning for years. Soon after, it developed serious mechanical problems. After repeatedly seeking assistance, I was eventually given a replacement, a green Range Rover from the car dealership in question. But instead of peace of mind, things only got worse. When I received the new vehicle, I discovered something very terrifying. The VIN number and license plate from the old black vehicle were transferred directly onto the green one, and the engine number on the title is listed as not seen. It was as if the identity of the first vehicle was simply copied and pasted onto the second. From that moment, I have lived in fear. Even before your report came out, I kept questioning the paperwork, the numbers, the legitimacy of the vehicle. What was I really sold? What was I driving in this? Is this even legal? This was supposed to be my dream car. I worked hard and saved to own a Range Rover, not one that feels pieced together, not one that makes me scary every time I go on the road. Today, I am terrified of being stopped, terrified of legal and financial consequences I may face because someone else decided to cut corners, terrified that the vehicle I trusted and paid for may not even be real in the eyes of the law. I am sharing my story because I want people responsible I want the people responsible for this to be held accountable. And I want other Guyanese to check their documents, their VIN numbers, and their titles. Big scam. Big scam. And therefore, I want to know having regards to all that is circulating on social media, whether the police will conduct a proper investigation or I'm going to wait for one of the victims to make a formal report to the police. Because remember, when Gail Teixeira was asked by a UN body why they did not investigate, why the police, why the country did not investigate the Sugate allegation against Jagdeo, you know what was her response? Oh, no one made a report to the police. No one. So I'm calling on these people, in addition to going to the social media and having video, go and make an official report at the police. It looked like a real crime, a criminal gang operating. They have not called the name of the car dealer, and rightly so, because, you know, again, you talk about civil liabilities and all of that. And then the next thing you know, only civil, they're going to tell you it's a cyber crime, and they get emotionally disturbed, bring in police, and I understand that the dealers are closely associated with members of the government and the police. So the next thing you know, you find yourself on criminal charge. But this thing has to be exposed. I hope that more victims will come forward. And as a first step, they should go in. You should get something. I don't know what process they have to use, but it's based on the complaints that should go and seize these things for investigation. Examine our mechanics and examine these things thoroughly. All vehicles are supposed to have a vehicle identification of VIN number. All supposed to have a different chassis. Each chassis has a unique number. And from the time you hear the transferring VIN number and transferring chassis number, it's criminal activity. Those are criminal activities in and of themselves. So I would hope that the people go and they make a report. And I suspect that now that we have had these people coming forward, more people who have been scammed will also come forward. And in the meanwhile, this is intended to warn people. Like, now do your investigation and find out who these scammers are and stay away from them. Those who have been scammed already, seek to make sure you can get back your money. Seek. And those who are glad to buy vehicle and so on, you know, the saying goes, if it appears to be too true, if the thing appears to be too real or to be too good, perhaps think again. Think again. I would hope that this matter is going to be investigated. As I've said, not only because of those persons who have already been scammed, but it seems to be, and in the previous broadcast on Friday, there seems to be an international ring. How we understand the Canadian authorities were also looking into this. The American authorities are looking into this because it is said that some of these vehicles are stolen in the US and Canada, shipped to Guyana. One of the criminals in the interview that we played on Friday, the voice note there, outlining how the act is committed, how these criminal acts are committed. They're outlining it. The people seem to be operating with impunity because they have proper political and other coverage. Let me bring in CC. I know they say the insurance companies, because somebody had asked a question when we spoke about it. The Mohammeds being unable to get insurance, right? Somebody has said, well, if you get a vehicle and get insurance, what you must do. The issue is if you have a vehicle and for whatever reason the vehicle is not insured, the vehicle should not be driven on the road because the laws are clear. You have to have insurance coverage for vehicles on the road. Once the vehicle on the road, and I think there's an exception for tractors in the farm and all this stuff. Other than that, you got to get your insurance. And if the insurance company is refusing, as this man claims, refusing to give you coverage, you're in serious trouble. Because if you're stopped, if you get involved in an accident, first of all, not only you in serious trouble, but if you get involved in an accident and you injure someone, that person who's injured then get no real recourse to get no compensation, monetary, financial compensation from no company because the vehicle is not covered by insurance. So it's a serious thing, not only for the owner of the vehicle, but for other road users as well. So this thing requires a comprehensive and thorough investigation to get to the bottom of it. And I understand that this thing has been going on for a long time. A long time. Let me bring in CC to talk about this because as former policemen, we just hear a story, but enough time you can't come and talk because you don't get it confirmed. CC, this allegation about the vehicle scam, what are your views, my brother?
Well, we've been hearing about it for a long time, a long time ago. And let me presumptuous on saying, since I was Commander C Division, I heard about it. But persons don't want to come forward. And apparently they're tampering with the VIN and the chassis number. The VIN and the chassis number. And apparently it's an international arranged operation. Canada, United States of America, Guyana. And then, Paul, I'm wondering, is there a role for the GRA, the Guyana Revenue Authority? I'm not hearing anything about the Guyana Revenue Authority. Wall of silence. I ain't hearing anything from the Guyana Police Force. Wall of silence. Are they protecting somebody? Definitely, the GRA should get involved in terms of clearance of clear vehicle. The GRA ain't get no role. And the police are investigating, or they would say, hey, it's an American problem, it's a Canadian problem. In the meanwhile, innocent people are being robbed of their hard-earned cash. Here the guy say, want to buy a Range Rover? Next thing you know, 2 vehicles with the same VIN, 2 vehicles with the same chassis number. It's time that we get serious and the authorities get serious. Stop protecting the man. And people know who the man. Stop protecting the person. Or is it because that the person is closely connected to the government? Have been supporting the government? Quid pro quo? Preferential treatment? I could do as me like and nothing will happen to me. It's time that serious investigation be done. And don't tell me about Soko. Please, for heaven's sake, don't bring in Soko in the thingy. That proper investigation got to be done. The Americans, the Canadians, and all who are involved. We've been hearing about it. Since I was Commander C Division, I heard whispers about what is taking place. Perhaps it has now manifested itself.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. As the Guyanese folk song says, I know the man, you know the man, all of you know the man. You know the folk song? I know the man, you know the man, all of you know the man. Right? All of you know the man. And let me give some advice to people who want vehicles and so on. My last set of vehicles that I bought, right? I ain't buying from no local dealer in Guyana. I went to Japan directly on these auctions and look at my vehicle, get all the information and so on, go to bank, do my transfer. I do them myself. I did them myself. I go and I did it myself. And I discover that when you do that, it is much cheaper. Because you got to pay no middleman. You get an opportunity. They have auctions almost every day in Japan. All you got to do is sign up to one of the sites. You see the vehicles. There's a process. But I have found the process to be very simple. It takes some time. It takes a few months. Right? But at the end of the day, you save more. And then you're sure what you're buying out of Japan is what you're going to get. And having said that, I must admit that they are dealers in Guyana with good reputation. Not all of them are bad. You might want to ask around and get people to share their experience with certain dealers with you. Because I remember when I was in the force, they got a particular dealer. And this is the point is that when people go and they sign for these vehicles and sign up, most people don't buy the vehicle cash. They pay down. They got enough fine print, and they don't read the fine print. And we had something occurring frequently where people were coming in to report that their vehicles were stolen. And when we start to investigate, we discover that the vehicles weren't stolen. What happened is that when you bought the vehicle, when you paid down for the vehicle, you haven't buy it yet, when you paid down for the vehicle and the vehicle is handed over to you, a particular dealer kept a spare key. So for the time you default in your payment, they went and they looked for the vehicle. They got people employed, look for the vehicle. And because they get a spare key, they got in the vehicle and they repossess it. Right? They repossess it. Now, reports were done, investigations were done, and reports were done. I remember this very well. And when we did the investigation, a file was sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And when the Director of Public Prosecutions, the officers there, poured through the contractual arrangement with the dealer and the person who bought the vehicle, for use of a better term, bought the vehicle, they discover that in the fine print, they actually consented for the vehicle to be repossessed in that manner. I forget that. And therefore, you couldn't bring a charge against the dealership. Because the legal people say, well, there's a private matter because they signed, and I read the fine print, Because when they tell you, no, I never signed to that, then you look at the document, the fine print in the document, they actually signed to allow for the vehicle to be repossessed in default of any payment. So we have had cases, I remember cases where, let's say, a vehicle is worth $2 million. Person paying, and then they run into some, let's say they pay 1.5, 1.6 million, almost finished paying off. A month or two is remaining for them to pay off. They run into some hard time and they miss a payment, vehicle gone. They come and they seize the vehicle, so all your money and things gone down the drain. And then they tell you if you want to buy back a next vehicle. All that went on. All that. I remember that very, very well. We investigated. And I think after then, the police had to back off. And that type of thing, that type of arrangement where they come with a spare key, pick up your vehicle and they go on with it. Because, again, the fine print was the fine print. People anxious to get a vehicle, so what happened? They come and they say, pay down 500,000, pay down the, and then you're going to pay so much money a month. You're glad to get your own transportation. And what you do, you're going to pay. You're not reading the fine print. You're not reading the fine print. So them thing maybe you even want to have legal people to go over it and make sure that you are not putting yourself in harm's way. Let me understand that clearly. But as I've said, I went to the auction in Japan on even my current vehicle. Japan, I bring it in myself. Of course, if it's a one vehicle, it takes some time for them to get it on the ship because there are agents in Japan that you're going to work through. They go to the auction. You tell them what you want. I want a vehicle this year, must exceed this mileage. These are the trims that I want. You tell them. And then they will go in the auction. They're going, when they get vehicle fit in the description, they're going to send pictures and information to you for you to indicate which one you want. Right? Of course, I think you have to make a deposit first. Right? But the thing is legit. The thing is legit. And that is what I have done. That is what I have done for the past three vehicles. Going to the auction myself and get it done. And then when it's shipped down and it come, then I go and I make the thing. They're going to send the papers and everything, man. They're going to send the papers, right? Somebody saying that is what they did, right? They said, so it's an option available to you. We're not saying that you don't have car dealerships in Guyana, that you can go and get a legitimate business done and get your vehicle in quick time. Proper vehicle. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there's also the option where you can go to Japan and get a vehicle. And let me tell you this too. You might not do this, but I learned this, I think it was 2002. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I don't know if the facility still exists. There was a facility in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where they had Japanese right-hand drive vehicles. And I bought my Toyota GX100 in that arrangement. I went there, I saw the vehicle, and I bought it, and they ship it down and so on. So that was back in 2002. I don't know if the facility still exists, because they say what happened. Apparently, those vehicles were in transit to somewhere, and the people to whom they were consigned perhaps default in payment, and they were left there waiting for them to pay and then pay. So that then the company sell them from Japan, legitimate arrangement, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So explore your options and don't fall for these scams. Don't fall for these scams. Now let me go into a current thing. Today, November the 24th, was the day when the WIN leader and his father had to return to court. Remember the child, I always said, I think this extradition proceeding, yeah, share the life. We just passed 2,000, but share, we can go up a few more hundred. So they returned to court. If you recall, on the last occasion, the prosecution that the government employed, they say U.S., but by now we come to realize with all the thing, that is the Guyana government. The Attorney General source the lawyers, King Counsel Williams from Jamaica and his team, and it's the Guyana government. We paying the 62,000 plus money they say per month. We paying the hotel fee. We paying everything. So on the okay, I think it was the last occasion. On the last occasion, when the matter came up for disclosure, there was partial disclosure. In other words, they did not hand over, the prosecution did not hand over all the documents that they have to the defense team. We were made to understand that what they hand over might have been formal documents, the formal requests from the U.S. State Department and some other formal things they handed over. So they were to return this morning to make further disclosure. We understand that they did return this morning and they made further disclosure, but we understand that the disclosures are not complete. So in other words, they don't hand over all what they're supposed to hand over. I understand that there were arguments, legal arguments, and the matter is now set for the 28th, which is Friday coming, for, I think, something relating to the documents. But until and unless you have full disclosure, that's a requirement. All the documents that you have to use against the defendants, you got to hand over to the defense counsels so they can prepare their defense properly. That is what it is. You have to hand over, you got to do full disclosure. And I understand that wasn't done. Now, following that, I saw this morning outside the Georgetown Magistrate Court and outside Parliament Building, the real Parliament Building in Hatfield Street there, in Brickdam on the northern side, there was a demonstration by supporters of the WIN party, some members of Parliament, including the leader of the WIN party, and some others were there. They were protesting and so on. I just want to remind them that when you are going to hold a protest, make sure you comply with the law. Because they're looking, they set it like ark, they set it like chicken ark. When they come down there and get chicken, they go with grass, right? They're vicious, So I would say to you, make sure that you are advised to follow the law. You don't have to get permission to picket, right? But the law requires a certain type of behavior. In other words, if you're picketing, you can't gang up. You got to keep moving. You can't block traffic. You can't block entrances and so on. You have to get, I think, the armband mark, peaceful picket. That is required by the law, Required by the law. Make sure y'all do the right thing. It is your right. You have a constitutional right to picket and to demonstrate if you want to do so. But you have to make sure that you know the law and you follow the law. Because remember to say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And the next thing I want to tell you all about. You can gang up as you did this morning. But be careful when you are going to march off. Because in law, that is defined to be a procession. Right? A procession. Under the Public Order Act, you have to get permission from the police to process. You have to get permission from the police to use noisy instruments. So don't worry, get up there and you think that the next thing you know, somebody bring out a loudaler and the thing in there, or somebody bring and decide where we can march and we go. Be careful. Be careful, I want you. Be careful, I warn you. I'm not a win supporter. I'm a supporter of justice, truth, and right. So I feel obliged to let you all know, because they're talking about demonstration and we can protest. Yeah, you have a constitutional right to do so, but make sure you are briefed as to what the law requires. Remember when they had a protest, they used to get, I think it was Tuesday, outside GCOM, calling for biometric and all them type of thing, new voters list. Kadaki Amsterdam came out with some Laudela or something like that. They charge him. So let me warn you people, let me warn you very early, because I know you must get listeners or some people, if they're not listening to you, can tell them that's slow, sir, right? But don't worry what slow, sir. Read the law. We're talking here about the Public Order Act. Public Order Act is what CC can tell. I think it's 603, right? And 1603, not 603. I think it's 1603. I'm not sure. It's long out of this thing, over 15 years out. So you got the Public Order Act. Read the Public Order Act. You would not find the regulations as to picketing in the Public Order Act, because the Public Order Act deals with meetings and processions. Meetings and processions. If you want to hold meetings, public meetings, they tell you what is the requirement. And I'll alert you again, you don't have to get permission from the police, seek permission from the police to hold a public meeting. The law requires that you notify the appropriate office of police, and the appropriate office of police is the person in charge of the police station nearest to which the meeting is to be kept. So that if you want to have a meeting, if you want to have a procession, the law says that you have to write and get permission from the chief office of police. And the chief office of police is defined as the person in charge of the police division in which the procession is to be kept. And in addition to that, you have to seek separate permission for the use of noisy instrument. So if you want these Laudela, you want these big boom system, you got to get specific permission to do that. So I am doing this as a civic duty to those persons to say, make sure that you follow the law. Because you know what happened? For the time you slip, sir, they're gonna pull you before the court. They will be instructed to put you before the court for the time you slip. So if you go there and you're there on the road, so you're holding protests and you block the traffic, it's against the law. You block an entrance or an exit, it's against the law. Be warned. Be warned, right? Public Order Act, and I think when it comes to picket, it's not the Public Order Act. Well, I can't remember. I think it's the Labor, something to do with the Labor Act dealings with picket, right? Do y'all research. Do y'all research and make sure you know what is the correct thing. Now, before I go further, because we're going to deal with the parliamentary aspect, because it's one of the things that came out of the demonstration this morning, but I will give Mr. Conway the opportunity to deal with the disclosure that we talk about and the picketing and the Public Order. Sure, CC?
Yeah, Paul, it is true that you have to get full disclosure. I'm aware that, when they charge us unlawfully for when they charge us unlawfully, I remember, they took a long time before they give the disclosure, then they give in piecemeal, PC. I think it's the same thing they might do with the Mohammeds, A little piece, somebody sing a song, a little piece at a time, they're going to prolong it. They're going to prolong it. But coming back to, the Public Order Act, I don't have my copy readily available or quoted the section. But then, if you're going to process, you have to make an application and you got to get a route in which you want to think. And then if you're going to use noisy instrument, you have to get permission to use noisy instrument If you're going to hold meetings, all they got to do, send notification of organization to the station, district, or everything. But the thing is that they got to be careful because they're going to look for any and every opportunity to hold people and charge them, especially people who are associated with Mohammeds. I don't hold no brief for Mohammed. I don't know them. I never deal with them, and I have no intention of dealing with them. But for the citizens as a whole, you got to be careful when you're going to picket, when you're going to process, and if you're going to use noisy instrument. I remember Kidaki, I know what made the case where they say use a bullhorn and then they charge him. So be careful, you people, and follow the Public Order Act.
All right. So the next aspect of this thing this morning, they were calling on the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, right, to convene the meeting of the members of the opposition to elect the leader of the opposition. It is 3 weeks now since Parliament was convened. The 13th Parliament was convened. I think it was the 3rd of November. Can't call the meeting yet. And as I've said, when I look at the ball says I'll call them on the 12th. I've never. Well, they're going to call it eventually. But they are waiting. It is my view that the only reason that they have not called this, or not they, because it's the responsibility of the Speaker to call this meeting, and because of the fact that Azudin got his extradition thing going against him. As we have said, and as Azudin Mohammed is reported to have said this morning, this is like it to run the gamut. Some extradition thing, I can't see it, finish it quick. Can't, because the whole thing backfired on them. They had intended, when they arrested Azudin on the 31st of October, Friday the 31st of October 2025, the intention was to have him remanded so that he could not have been sworn in as a member of Parliament. And they admitted to that, not to the part of not being sworn in, but they admitted to the part that they expected him to be remanded. The Jagdeo Sessa, Sanjeev Jatadin Sessa, that the law did not allow, there's the argument, the law does not allow for a person facing an extradition charge to be released on bail. And the fact that he was arrested the last working day before the convening of Parliament shows clearly that they intended for him to be remanded, and therefore he could not, or he would not have been sworn in as a member of Parliament, and they would not get this, because in order to be the Speaker of the opposition, then you have to be a member of Parliament. And they would have gone with breakneck speed had he not been sworn in to call the meeting. Same day, I believe. They would have called the meeting the same third. Members of the opposition stay back or return to this room, you can vote for a leader. But they get cocked. They get it without any grease, without any lubrication. They get it raw. And this is not in the raw. This is raw. They get it raw. Right? So now, a lot of shenanigans, a lot of dancing and dancing, but everything is left now with the Speaker of the opposition, the Speaker of the Parliament, to show his independence and to summon the meeting of members of the opposition for them to elect who they want to be the leader of the opposition. But it looks like they're for just now. It looks like that is not going to happen, and we wait and see. And they're the ones who talk about democracy. Can't have a democracy when you have that type of behavior going on. Can't have this is not a real democracy. Democracy is not only about holding an election, which is alleged by some to be rigged. That's not, and even the European Union in their report, I mean, I got time for deal with that today, but you put it off, you're going to deal with it. Even the European Union in their report talks about the advantage of incumbency, the unreasonable advantage of them that are controlling everything, control the airwaves, control everything they control. Newspaper aligned to them. And when you come out on social media and you bring facts to people, they weaponize the institutions against you. Cybercrime charge and delay. Look, Azudin. Again, I know a little brief for Azudin. Look, during this campaign leading up, a policeman shake his hand in his transfer. He going on the quarantine to do political work. Police get roadblock by Blackbush Road. Stop the vehicles, delay. It's a other thing. Also, other thing, they weaponize the institutions, the police force in particular, against those people. Even the banks, as the people say, decide once you're associated with the Mohammeds, they freezing you, they stop doing business with you and so on. All of those things, you think those things can happen in a real democracy? Can't be, cannot be, should not be. Should not be. But it's all, and when you talk about it, yeah, the president come and he abuse out how the he abuse out the European Union and all them everything. But we're gonna address that part at some other time, right? Because the European Union made some very valid points. We made the point on this program, early o'clock, as they would say, that the government was unlawfully utilizing the cash grant database. And even some of the operatives admitted to that. They use the database and they get your number, they call you for ask you all sort of crap and tell you they must vote for PPP. And I said then, and I'm still disappointed that they never called me. I didn't want to call me because I would have turned a gynecologist. I would have turned a doctor. I would have told them how their mother made them. I would have told them about the whole process. From a county they buy a car in the river, Leonard Craig. I would have told them about from the conception to the erection to the sliming up. All I would have tell them about. All but they didn't call me. They didn't call me. But it was clear and they jump around. And imagine that here the president say everybody does call. Yeah, everybody does call. All politicians call. But they don't make use of an official database, which they would never have access to. It's only the government would have had access, illegal access to that database. But we're going to talk more about this EU report at some other time. Let me bring in CC if you want to see anything like this. And then with time closing and we are going to move into some quick subjects. You go, CC, you want to say anything about that?
No, we can go more in details about that.
All right, good. Yeah, let me tell you all this one, some quick thing. Update, you know, I was this morning, I saw that the former Brazilian president, Bolsonaro, arrested by the federal authorities in Brazil. Apparently, if you remember, when he lost the election, he tried to do something that was done in another country. He protested and tried to overturn the elections. Right? He was charged, he was arrested, charged, and convicted. Supposed to start serving a prison sentence shortly, and they said here that he wanted to flee, so the federal authorities move in, and they arrested him. Right? So I know what was the next step. Arrest, if it's straight to jail. And then I read this morning too that the former Bangladeshi president, right? What's her name? She named a female, Sheikh Asani or something like that, right? She was sentenced to death. Listen to this carefully. She was sentenced to death on November the 17th. And you know what was her offense? They say she was charged with crimes against humanity, where it was said it stemmed from a brutal crackdown by our security forces during demonstrations in July and August 2024. July and August 2024, they were demonstrations by primarily school students. And they said during that time, the UN estimated about 1,400. There's a figure that we can recall. We can talk about 1,400 were killed. 1,400 of the protesters were killed. She was charged and sentenced to death. So there's accountability even after you leave office, I think. Bolsonaro, that was sorry time. Sheikh Hasini, sentenced to death. But she's in exile. She was sentenced in absentia. So I don't know if they're going to get you wherever she is. If she's in Bangladesh, wherever she is. But it is noteworthy. It is noteworthy, right? That the two leaders, former leaders, the time coming. Now let me go to another matter. I'm bringing CC just now. There's another matter I wanted to talk. Oh, don't forget to monitor what is going on with Venezuela. Somebody said, but she fled to India. So let me see what can happen. She's in India. She's in India. Sean says she's in India. But she's sentenced to death. So may I know what is the process there? They're going to move to have her extradited or whatever. But that is what you have. Now, Venezuela, you know the story, the pressure ramping up on Venezuela. The Americans have a whole set of military assets in the Southern Caribbean there. Recently concluded exercise with the Trinidadian Armed Forces, where I saw videos suggesting that live munitions were used. I see plane, jet flying off and dropping thing in the sea, bombs in the sea. I read yesterday, I think it was, that the Guyana Defense Force just concluded a training exercise with the U.S. military. I read this morning that the U.S. authorities have indicated that they intend to go to the next phase of the operation. Folks, you have got to be alert. They claim that the I think it's the Federal Aviation Authorities have warned airlines about traversing the Venezuelan airspace, and it is said that several airlines have canceled their operations in that area. This morning too, or last night, I think we were told that several of the embassies in Venezuela, most likely Caracas, have evacuated their staff. Things are eating up in that region. And I hope that our people in Guyana, the government, are conscious and are putting steps in place, because if any conflict starts in Venezuela, I don't expect it to be long, because if America decided to go in there to get rid of Maduro and them, they could mobilize so much they want to mobilize. But it has the potential of escalating, because other countries might become involved, and it has the potential of us seeing people more fleeing to Guyana, more running to Guyana. So I hope they're looking to see have arrangements in place to deal with that. Because we already have, they say, estimated, some say about 60,000, some say whatever number of Venezuelans in Guyana. And if an armed conflict starts on land in Venezuela, one can expect an influx of Venezuelan fleeing Venezuela into Guyana, right? So let me hope that they are aware of that possibility. Let's just hope that they are aware of that possibility. Let me bring in CC, and then I got a few more things to talk about. CC, you want to say anything on that?
So true, it's going to have spin-off effects. It's going to have tremendous spin-off effects that people going to rush to Guyana. We know the borders are open up. We know that we have 270 miles sea coast, that people want to flood Guyana and overrun Guyana, and you might end up that they may get more immigrants in Guyana than Guyanese. So we need to look at it. Whatever happened there will have consequences for Guyana. And I hope that the security people, I hope that the intelligence people really looking at it and monitoring the situation.
Yeah, let me hope they're looking, Let me hope they're looking. Now let me if y'all remember this, let me remind you of this statement. Let me remind you of this statement. Where it is. Here it is. Let me remind you of this.
I am told that during the course of next week, we will get some more extradition requests. Perhaps Mohammed will feel a little better when that is made public.
Yeah, you remember the statement? That's our Attorney General, Anil Mohabir Anil Nandlal, SC, MP, making a statement. That is over a month ago or so, almost a month ago, I think. And it has been said, listen to me, it has been said that the request has been made for other persons to be extradited to the U.S. for various charges. It is said that statement from the Attorney General there, that next week, which is about 3 weeks ago, it is being suggested that the request has been made. But But the names that are on the request, they have to move ahead with the process. So this request, this extradition thing is only supposed to be about Assadin Mohammed and his father, right? But I understand that this request that the Attorney General said they expect within next week. Let me play that back for you.
I am told that during the course of next week, we will get some more extradition requests.
You hear what he said during the about 3 weeks ago. But you know, they say he tells lies, he tell tales. A lot of things he says are proven to be false, right? So he tell tales. So we don't know if this is one of the tales he was telling. He said, I am told, and the end, no announcement has been made. But I've said, I understand that the request was received by the Guyana government for other persons to be extradited to the U.S. to face criminal charges. But they are suffering from Lamborghiniitis. They're suffering from that rare disease called Lamborghiniitis. So then focusing on these other requests. Well, we shall see. We shall see. We shall see. Talking about Lamborghiniitis, I noted, I was disappointed, I must say, that for the past 2 Thursdays, we have not, I call it something I call entertainment by the Vice President, right? Why you say? Remember, let me see, I like play them thing, you know. Remember when he said this?
I don't give a shit about his Lamborghini.
He will report also in Lamborghini. So he has not had a press conference last Thursday. I don't think. I didn't see anything. I don't listen, but I monitor social media. Neither the Thursday before. So is it that he's suffering from Lamborghiniitis, that rare disease? Is it so? If the Vice President suffering from Lamborghiniitis or any other disease, we should know. Tell me, man. Tell me so we could pray for you. Tell me if the Vice President suffering from Lamborghiniitis or anything else, so we can pray. And you know, prayers are powerful things, right? Prayers are powerful things. We can pray. We can pray. Now, the next thing, I asked a question last week, Friday, I think it was, about what is the position with the Lance Corporal, I think he was, Christophe de Nabriga, who was acquitted from the murder charge he was charged with murdering Quindon Bacchus, right? And that thing happened in June, I think it was June 10, 2022. He appeared in court, I think he was charged on the 28th, June 28th, or sometime then. He appeared in court on July 5th, 2022, where the charge of, well, the charge was read to him, indictable charge, so he was not required to plead. The preliminary inquiry was conducted. It was thrown over to the High Court. The trial was held in the High Court before Justice Gino Prasad, and following a no-case submission by the attorney representing the Nabriga, the jury was instructed by the judge to return a formal verdict of not guilty, and Christophe de Nabriga walk out the court of free man. I tell you all here, they're talking, people questioning, is he going to be reinstated? Or what? The question is, if he is going to be reinstated, right? You're reinstating someone who was interdicted pending the outcome of a criminal charge. Let me understand it clearly. Because what should have happened is that de Nabriga, along with Damian McLennan and Thurston Simon, should have been interdicted from the 5th of July 2022 when they appeared. Because remember, the Constitution guarantees them the presumption of innocence. They weren't afforded that by the squatter, Clifton Akin. Did not afford them that. He dismissed them from the date they appeared in court. And I said from the inception, it is wrong. So now that this man get off, as we would say, and you're going to reinstate, how you going about that, Clifton? Tell me. So when you come to, you're reinstating a man who was interdicted, in which case he would have been reinstated from the date, retroactive from the date he was interdicted, 5th of July 2022. But you're dismissed. And now that the man win the case, if you're thinking about reinstatement, you're going to reinstate from when? For when he win the case or from when he was dismissed, right? I just put yourself in all sort of trouble, all because of your incompetence. You put yourself in all sort of thing. And I would hope that the lawyer representing the Nabriga will take this up. And then let me tell you something, me and batting for the Nabriga, I talking about the rule of law. I talk about what is just and what is right. They should have never been dismissed. Never been dismissed. Because let me put it this way, all right. So what happened to the guy who killed the Peters in Linden? Is he dismissed or interdicted? Let me talk the thing. Is the type of incompetence and the type of inconsistency running the problem. Is the sergeant, right, Kendall, who shot and killed, who's alleged to have shot and killed that by Peters. What is his position? I know he's charged with murder, but is he interdicted pending the outcome of that murder charge, or you dismiss it too? And then on the same matter, again, this law in Guyana is the system. You have a man charged with murder. Two other men out of the same incident. One, they're charged with perverting the course of justice. Summary charge before the magistrate. The murder charge, preliminary inquiry finished before the magistrate. It got before the judge and jury. It done. The man gone, walk free. The Nabriga walk free. When the people with the two summary charge, Simon and McLennan, still there in the magistrate court, the thing still went in its way through the magistrate court. Still went, and I had cautioned about, I had alerted people to that. I said how things are going. The murder charge can finish, and the two lesser charges are not going to finish. And that is exactly what has happened. That is exactly what has happened. And I said that primary charge, the murder charge gone. The decent thing to do is whenever the matter comes up next, I hope that the DPP would have already prepared a letter to the magistrate indicating that the matter is discontinued, these two summary matters discontinued, and then put in the thing again to determine what you're going to do, when you're going to interdict them, when you're going to reinstate them, and from when. You see, incompetence is not, when you're incompetent, you're incompetent. And you're going to ask other problem down the line because of incompetence. And that's what we say we got to do. Stick to the law. Stick to the law. Stick to the standing orders. Stick to all those. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Right? So we are waiting to see what will happen there. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to comment on that and give us his closing.
I always remember my good friend, Mr. George Jackman. So when you're incompetent and you try your incompetent best, you are still incompetent. You are incompetent and you try your incompetent best, you are still incompetent. Remember, sometime during, I think it's in July, the president, in one of his seagull management episode, where he flew in to Ivlery, make a lot of noise, shut up, crack up with everybody, and then flew away. But before then, decided that there will be promotions. 2,800 persons, corporals, sergeants, inspector, and he laid down the category and the rules. We know when you're going to promote, you promote based on vacancies. Vacancies in that large numbers weren't there. So they promoted the whole of the corporals, also the sergeants, some inspectors, some people from constable to sergeants, some from constable to corporal, go along the line. Now the thing get backlash. A whole set, understand, from region number 5, They were told that they were mistakenly promoted and they must carry back the stripe to the quartermaster store. I think we had four in region number 6. Could be many more. That hey, mistake, you get promoted, carry back your stripe. Some who were sergeants just say you only should be promoted as a corporal. So they got the big set of confusion that people got to carry back stripe because they were mistakenly promoted. And it was the president said so. And was election time. And he say, I look after you, you look after me. That was the thing. That many of them went public and praising the president. Somewhere the PPP uniform went to rallies. They were promoted. Now these are now region, number region 5 and region number 6. I got to check the other regions that they got to carry back the stripe. And I said, since they were promoted to the rank to corporal and sergeant, they didn't receive any raise in the salary. They still, those who move from constable to sergeant still receive constable salary. Those who made corporal still receiving constable salary. And that's the thing that's going on there. They are demoralized. From region 5 headquarters, region 6 headquarters, they're sending them to Georgetown. Georgetown say, we done with you. This is already made that you're not sure being promoted. They are demoralized. And all because of the seagull management that we had there. You promote left, right, and center, and you promote a whole lot of incompetence. You resurrected Dr. Peter. And only that, you resurrected the Police Service Commission that died and was cremated. You bring it back and they make promotion unlawfully. So let's see what's going to happen. But I'm in sympathy with those people who they wearing the stripe and here they got care back stripe and all that kind of thing. And they don't receive a cent for their promotion. Perhaps maybe they're looking in terms of supplementary budget or something, but nobody ain't get any money and people got care back stripe.
And some of them must buy drinks, you know. Yeah, some of them must buy drinks. I remember years ago, there was a certain man at Linden who Friday afternoon 4 came out, and in those days a message would have been sent during the Friday night to say all those who were promoted, promotion order. And the other certain wicked police, he received the message and he put it in the book right away. And then he put it on paper. When he ready to transfer it into the book, he's taken this detective constable name to say he got promoted to corporal. That's a Friday night. Them old police from Linden can remember the story. And the man, you see Saturday morning there, when the man realized that the thing comes, he got promoted, everybody congratulating him. Drinks, man, drinks. You know, the bar used to there downstairs there. Drinks flowing, man, drinks flowing, celebration. Drinks and cutters. Cutters, man, drinks. And that what happened. When the Fosada came up later this Saturday, and they run to the Fosada, he named them there. And then they're looking for the worthless police. I know he named. They're looking for the worthless police. They can't find it. They can't find the worthless police. So all that does happen. All that. And when Mr. Conway spoke about the Service Commission, I understand that it is their position that the life of the Service Commission and end. So remember we tell you that they brought back Mandal. Look, evidence say. This is last Friday, I think it says. Mandal, this is Assistant Commissioner Mandal, handing over something to this sergeant at the TSU Square. That's Saturday, that's Friday gone. When they had this inspection, that some Mandal is back. And let me say this. I can never advocate, and I would never advocate for any summary punishment against Mandal. So I say he should be sent home. No. Can't. Natural justice. But for his acts of incompetence during the Adriana Young matter, there should have been some process, legal process. The Police Service Commission, if you have the power to reinstate him, you should also have the power to discipline him for those acts early this year. Now you understand this? If you're claiming that you have the power to reinstate him because you think he was sent off sometime around April or May this year, and some 5-6 months demanded on administrative leave, joint pay. So if you decide that you can bring him back, even though we know the commission life done, but you are saying that the commission life has not ended, and therefore you have the legal authority, the constitutional authority to bring back Mandel, then you should tell yourself too that you have the legal and constitutional authority to take action against Mandel under Article 212 of the Constitution. Right? But that is what we're going on. That is what we're going on. That is what we're going on. That is what is going on. Animal Farm. Animal Farm. They can bring back Mandel after 6 months or whatever. Right? He's back at 2IC operations. And in case you all know, 2IC operations means that he is the most senior of the assistant commissioners there now. The position of second in command of operations. Because second in command of operations means that all the divisional commanders who are assistant commissioners and so on, and all the other commanders, they got to report to E. That is how the chain is drawn. The scalar chain is drawn that way. So that is where you get. That is what you have. That is what we call incompetence. And to see, I can't help reminding you that the chairman, the former chairman of the Police Service Commission is a bishop. He tells himself, or they tell themselves that he's a religious bishop. I say he's a chessboard bishop. Same people, get people case dismissed against them years now. At least 1 year plus, almost 2 years. And they can't reinstate them. Can't reinstate. One is because they are of a particular ethnicity. Like you can't reinstate them. But a man of another ethnicity, right, can be illegally reinstated. Can be illegally reinstated. Folks, we have had a long morning. I got a couple other things to talk about. I'm going to leave it for the next program. I looked into my crystal ball and I saw a very disturbing thing. I'm going to tell you now, but I'm going to tell you on Wednesday. I make a note to tell you it on Wednesday. I'm going to tell you about it on Wednesday. As I said, we have had a long morning. We know by now, as I will continue to beg you to be careful. I continue to beg you to be careful. Some people want to see a therapy.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su. Oh, Su. My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims.
Right? The man has been so fluent on Thursdays. Right? On Thursdays, Mr. Jack Dio, let me give you a thing. Look at this, fluency.
I don't give a shit about his Lamborghini.
The fluency there? I don't give a shit about the Lamborghini. But when, Su, all the fluency gone. All the fluency gone. Folks, I have to leave y'all with that one. Lamborghini-itis. That is the disease that he alone, others are suffering from, is Lamborghini-itis. So, folks, I implore you again to take care of yourselves and stay well. We are approaching, by now I expect public servants would have gotten pay. Hey, a bird in the hand is worth $1 million in the bush. So calculate how you get in your hand, yeah? You're going to get paid in the next 2 weeks' time for Christmas. Calculate that. This smoke and mirror thing, what you think about cash grant and so on, forget about that. Because they look like it coming. Forget about it. Forget. So make sure you save your little money for your little pepper pot and your little garlic pork or garlic beef or garlic lava, whatever you do. Make sure you put aside something and don't depend on this smoke and mirror cash grant that they promised before election, and now all of a sudden they're putting it for you and they're giving you it without any grease. Put it without grease. You got a ball. No, you don't back. You know, Sparrow, don't back on me. Don't back. You got to back and take it. That is how it is going. You got to take it. You cannot for you run and you vote a particular way because you expected that. It look like it coming. Because you never get parliament. You never get parliament. And it appears as though this year can end. And you didn't even get an opposition leader. And it looked like this year can end without them calling a meeting, because I don't think they can call any meeting of the full parliament without first calling the meeting to elect the leader of the opposition. And like Nanu Nadir and doing that, he's waiting. What is he waiting for? The Constitution, Article 184 of the Constitution, gives him the authority to summon this meeting. Not call him. Maybe he's waiting on instructions. Maybe he's waiting on instructions. But that is why I'll get 5 more years in your backside. 5 more years. Folks, stay well. Protect yourself at all times. That is what the last instruction the boxing referee does give to the boxers. Protect yourself at all times. Right? Stay well. And until we meet again, God's Spare Life on Wednesday for another episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and competence. As I said, stay well. Bye.